buck breaking. And this buck breaking turns up in one of Tariq Nasheed's videos. And what he's suggesting, and somebody else was repeating it as well in the same video. Can't remember the guy. Forget it. You know, one of these Afrocentrics. Maybe a professor, I don't know. I'm not sure. Buck breaking back in the day of slavery. This is the argument that they're putting through. In order to control the slave, they'll get the toughest buck, and the slave master will shag him up the arse in front of everybody. And that was just to emasculate him and all the rest of it. And it's like the Willie Lynch letter. If you're emotional, you'll believe everything you hear. Because somebody said it, and everybody validates this somebody. I mean, let's look at Al Sharpton. People validated him, that clown. But it turns out he worked for the FBI all the time. Right? So he's not the only one. I'm not going to call that a bag of names, you know what I mean? We've got them in England too. I think in London, anybody that's on the radio who's a Pan-Africanist and all the rest of it, and, you know, loving up Garvey and all of that stuff, they're probably agents. Because of the amount of crap I hear and see them do. Celebrating Kwanzaa is a clue. It's a clue. Celebrating African Liberation Day, think it through. That's a clue. Always hating on Jesus. That's another clue. Who are the enemies of Jesus? A clue. Okay? Calling your white brothers and sisters Wazungu or Umzungu. You know, just trying to... it's a clue. Mozart was black. It's a clue. Queen Charlotte was black. It's a clue. Everything that's been invented, it's a clue. They don't do any research. Buck breaking, that's a clue. Where's the evidence for that? No, I'm asking you. I know it sounds emotive and so forth, but where's the evidence for it? I was watching a video yesterday, and I thought, let me go back into that. And I was trying to find out where the research is. Probably on my other computer, where I cached the article that said it's not true. But anyway, I couldn't remember. So I found a video, and there's a white guy who's addressing this buck breaking. And I noticed that he was using Irritated Genie's video. Irritated Genie has some interesting videos, and he talks about the feminizing of the black man. Speaking of him feminizing the black man, there is I think it's a producer or a director on Hollywood, a black man, and he's wearing a big floral dress. You'd think he came from the antebellum South with it out there, you know. The top half looks like a jacket, and the rest of it is a big. He's actually carrying this bloody, you know. And he's standing there proud of a peach and holding on to this white dude, you know. Whatever. I sent it as a WhatsApp to a female friend. She's a bit of a communist, but she thinks it's cool. Well, what's wrong with it? Then she mentioned something about Scots and kilts. I just thought, okay, maybe one day I'll have a read into why the Scots wore kilts and where that come from. What was the purpose of it? But anyway, I didn't respond back. I just said, okay, cool. I'll have a look about Scots and kilts. I don't think she got what I was trying to say or how ridiculous it looked. Somebody else on Facebook was saying, she thought the person was brave and she understands other people's views, but this is brave and blah, 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 blah. To which point I say, well, if anything goes, don't get upset when they teach your 4-year-old about gay sex and transgenderism, if anything goes. Don't get upset when you see a man in public shagging a sheep, if anything goes. Why be outraged? when your drunkle has sex with his underage niece. If anything goes. What's the beef with Dennis Nielsen and Jeffrey Dahmer? If anything goes. I mean, we either have a standard and an understanding how successful societies exist, warts and all, or we don't. Because if we don't, and anything goes, it's not just hedonistic, it's your Sodom and Gomorrah you're asking for. And if you're pleased with anything, then please be pleased with anything. You can't then make no rules or break some rules. There has to be an absolute. And if there is an absolute, then context is everything. And appropriateness is everything. It's either, it's a winner-take-all thing, you know? Hope you commies know that. Because there's no place where you built anything with communism. Because you need a methodology to make it work. So if you don't want to use the bankers' money, because that's where they got the money to build their rockets and outdo the West, through the bank. That's how they got ships and boats and were able to maintain the satellites of the Soviet Union with the international bankers' money. So, yeah, so I kind of moved in on a little bit on to those Afrocentrics, and I did that for this reason. They talk about reparations and it comes up, and some of the things they do, I just began to think it through, and I don't like the way they're representing this, and I actually think they've got this big juggernaut called reparations, and they've got the key in there, and they're speeding, and they're going to smash this into the wall. There is nothing that they do that gives me the impression that they really and truly want reparations. They want to gather people to follow it, but the arguments are wrong. It's just wrong. I don't really want to well, I might as well spell it out because I'm going to do it now. They don't understand what this is about, for argument's sake. In America, the academic black, there is a new class of African American academics and public intellectuals. And I side with them, I understand them, and I've been able to see it more clearly myself. So, they are tired of being used by people who do not have a history or a stake in the history of the creation of America. They come over as immigrants when everything's paid with gold, if you will. And they may well be the same hue as the African American, but they don't have the same history or sympathy to the history. What they're cashing in on is blackness, and that's somebody's prejudice. But because somebody's prejudiced against this skin doesn't make you automatically join their party of special status. And the African American, I wrote in an essay, has special status. And they were given that special status by bigotry. And the bigots didn't realise what they were doing. And I talked about the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, and 15th Amendment. If you're aware of those, then you would understand what I'm talking about. We're talking about the Reconstruction Amendments. You can call them Reconstruction Amendments. Those three amendments make them a special people. 1, ended slavery. 2, gave them the vote. And 3, gave them the vote without having to qualify and do stupid tests, etc., etc. And we all know, 1865, the Civil War ended. And of course they were saying, well, Lincoln freed the slaves. Well, you know, really? I think I've gone through this subject already. why I used, when I did the first video concerning the flag. I think it's Uncle Tom, the flag, and whatever. So I'm not going to go deep into that. But I'm going deeper into this because I'm going to probably address this issue once again. Anyway, there's a new academic class and a discussion taking place. And, to my surprise, it's got some traction on American TV. And it's a differentiating. And you know, of course, the black people who are speaking against this new movement or questioning this new movement, some even saying, oh, they're being divisive and not helping. And I think, no. There is outstanding issues that need to be addressed, just as there are outstanding issues for people like myself that need to be addressed. One is reparations, and as I mentioned, reparations. That's another reason why I don't stand with the Galaxy Radio from South London and the what do you call them, Al Cablans, and you know, the Garvey lovers, all of those guys in England, because they keep saying the same thing. It's not about money. We need to repair ourselves and all this nonsense. And I've argued with some of these guys. I'm like, tell that to somebody who was in a car accident and their leg get broke because some drunk driver, he got his insurance and he needs his money. Nobody's going to say, when you need your money, oh, your leg has got to heal first. In fact, if you get your money, you probably go private and it will heal quicker. Do you know what I mean? This is about money. America was built with money. People are profiting now of finance. Nations are built upon finance. People are kept down with lack of finance. Okay? So what I'm talking about is DOS. D-O-S. Descendants of slaves. Writing my essay, I'm being critiqued because they want me to write black. And I reject it. I wasn't the one who lobbied for it. I understood it, and I'm like, I don't get it. Black, brown, black, chocolate brown. It's me. So I've never been with it. And when my parents come up, they were referred to as coloured, and they would use the word coloured. All of a sudden, I heard these voices saying, kicking up a stink, and when the white person say coloured. So I was wondering, who's these people kicking up a stink? Usually they were Jamaicans brought over here. And they're on the radio, hosting shows and doing all this stuff. I'm like, who are you? And all of a sudden, they jump and they pretend to be you. They crash in cars into walls, and you're being affected. But they're getting paid. But you're being affected. They're getting paid. And I'm sick of it and tired of it over here as well, because we're never getting anywhere. We're never represented right, because these people are always shouting the loudest and getting in front of the queue and saying, speak to me, I speak for them. And half of them wasn't even born in this country. Do you know what I mean? They have their passports Jamaican. You know, I'm not against Jamaican. But there's nobody can tell me that Galaxy Radio ain't run by Jamaicans. Right? You can't tell me that. They've got one of the biggest, loudest voices in this country at this moment in time. And they're as dumb as, you know what I mean? But that's not the point. They pretend to be Afrocentrics and so forth. But yet they toe the government's line. Female genital mutilation, they're down with that. Up until the other day, I think as a result of me slagging them off, they got this girl, the Oracle. She's so PC and she's down with the gay, lesbian and trans movement. How could you be Afrocentric and that's your deal? Now they got rid of her and they're trying to go on like they're anti-homosexual. It's a bit late. You've been doing it for years. She's been on your show for years. And you've been having her disrespecting people on the line because they disagree with her, and she's making up all these reasons why she won't debate anybody. She's too scared to debate. And women are like that. They can't debate. And if a woman says she can debate, you show me consistently where women debate men. Show me. Let's just go with, for argument's sake, creationism and evolution. Right? That's free for women. I've heard Eugenie Scott in a radio debate with Kent Hovin. Bitch can't shut up. Can't shut up. And now she doesn't want to debate because, they can't. When William Lane Craig was coming over, he was going to debate 4 professors. Chris Grayling, not Chris Grayling, is it Chris Grayling? Oh, what's his name? Not Chris Grayling. Top professors. If you name some of Britain's top professors, it's going to one man, and these are all atheists. Oh, it was 3 top professors, and Polly Toynbee. Well, the 2 big boys, I'm trying to remember his name. A.C. Grayling was one of them. Well, he bailed out, and the other guy bailed out. And the other guy bailed out. That left Polly Toynbee. I thought, oh, go on, you girl. Then, as the date neared, she pulled out and said, oh, I don't like his style of debate. What? You don't like his style of debate? Wait a minute. In these debates that you can see online, the laws of debate are explained, The remit is explained. You'll have 10 minutes or 15 minutes opening gambit. You say, I'll do your power presentation, you make your point. Then, over to the other guy. They make their point. Then, you get 5 minutes to ask the other person specific questions of your own choice. You could critique what was said in the PowerPoint presentation they presented, or whatever, and vice versa. And then generally, it's open to the audience. It's set. What do you mean you don't like his style? Oh, because he wins. Is that what he means? Oh, he beats. Oh, he scares the pants out of the best atheists. Is that what it is? Oh, really? I mean, it's really funny. So anyway, I don't want to get too far into this, because there are some women with some intelligence, and one of the YouTubers I listen to, from time to time, I don't always agree with her. But on this, I did. She did one about immigration and about Barack Obama. And Barack Obama said, oh, we're all immigrants. How wrong is he? Let's be honest, he was not born in America. That's a fact. He's not a naturalized citizen of America. That too is a fact. The idiot published his actual long-form birth certificate on us.gov. On said certificate, it has his parents' nationality. To be a natural-born American, both his parents have to be born in some part of American territory. Well, the dad wasn't. He was a product of East Africa, Kenya and East Africa. Right there, it says it. That right there ends his presidency. He's an illegal president because he wasn't natural born. It's there. So, it's online. Go ask the question. You know what I mean? But they seem to have a way with the media and shutting it down. Be that as it may. So, when you get people like him, who's not born in America, coming over saying, we're all immigrants, henceforth, have sympathy for the Nicaraguans, or the El Salvadorians, or the Colombians, or the Mexicans who want to illegally come in to enjoy the fruits of what they did not pay for. And then let's be straight about the Chicanos, Hispanics, and Latin Americans. You all speak Spanish, okay? There are at least, last I counted, 20 countries that speak your language. You can go there. There should be no way that you come to America, take over parts of it, and only speak Latin American or Spanish. Making no attempt. Basically trying to subtly conquer American states. They got places where they only hire Latinos. They're not giving anybody else a chance. They're horrible to blacks when they're there, so they eventually run them out. They've even waged kind of gang warfare on blacks in certain areas. Don't want them around. It's a bit like what the Jews do in Stamford Hill. They just make your life a misery. You got to leave. Do you know what I mean? And they do it because the government turns the other way. Well, African Americans, the academic class, are sick of the boule types who go along with it, but so long as they get a good seat in hell, a nice comfy seat in hell, they don't mind. And they are retreating into the concept of we're only dealing with descendants of slaves, and they put it Ados, American descendants of slaves, because they've got to be specific. And so I said I agree with you. And I am a Cdos, Caribbean descendants of slaves. There is unfinished business. We are due reparations. We ought to have reparations. And there should be government measures for the disrespect ongoing that we've had to put up with. And the using of us, and everybody using us as a jump-off point, a springboard for what they want. I mean, I've studied this critical race theory, and the arguments are, and the assessments have been done, that the affirmative action programs that they brought in, well, guess who benefited out of that? More than anybody else? White women. White women. But yet, they'll come up with the trope, oh, you know, all this money that goes to you for affirmative action, and we've got to hire you, you know, and there's a better man for the job, but because we need to have a quota of blacks in there, you know, it ain't fair, it's reverse racism. No, it's not. You don't get a job if you're not qualified for it. It's as simple as that. But where there is no blacks and they are qualified, it is advised that that person would get at least considered. In this country, the way they weeded it out is they said they've got, when you fill an application form in, they give you an equal opportunities form, which is basically saying, who are you? Are you black, British, right, or Caribbean? And the minute you tick that, you know, the concept they want you to buy into is that, oh, well, you'll get a chance to get a job. I spent years not getting a chance to get a job. Because obviously, I'm Caribbean, so I'm going to have an English-sounding name. They wouldn't know that unless you put it on the equal opportunities form. Once you put it on the equal opportunities form, yeah, we're not having that nigger coming. Of course, when you mention that, you know, you can put it in academics. They don't want that. You know, they're so down with you, you know, these lefties. But when you tell the raw barn truth, they don't like it. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to be educated. They don't want you to be a critical thinker. And I say you've got to be a critical thinker, because critical thinking is fault finding, really, you know. Anyway, so we are talking about Ados. I am now proposing Cdos and Dos, descendants of slaves. So the reparations argument, I suppose I can construct one. I've rang into Galaxy and I've mentioned Dr. Robert Beckford, who is a black academic. He did a documentary. The documentary's online. It's called The Empire Pays Back, taking the meme from Star Wars. The Empire Strikes Back, The Empire Pays Back, in which he gets an accountant and a solicitor. I think it's a solicitor, lawyer, barrister, one of these guys. And they go into what reparations entails in terms financially. What does it amount to? And they came with a figure of 7.5 trillion for the works that people from the Caribbean have done, and the gains and benefits and so forth. It's a really good documentary. I think when I get the time, I will go into it and really build a really solid argument. Okay? I mentioned buck breaking. earlier on, because, you know, somebody wants black people to believe that all slave masters were terrible. But you can't find anywhere where the evidence is to this buck breaking. And in that video I told you about, the white guy who was sort of like saying, duh, and he used an irritated genie. He mentioned this Willie Lynch letter, and I've spoken to people who believe it. And, you know, their argument is, well, you know, they believe it to be true. Even though I told him Professor Manu Ampin broke it down and shot it to pieces, right? Well, they don't care. So I'm like, you must be an agent, because I just told you the reality. Oh yeah, but this, and I followed it too, and there was this and there was that. Alright, you believe it. Well, I don't know that Willie Lynch said anything about buck breaking. Okay? But we do know about Thomas Thistlethwaite. I've got a book over there. And I was reading through it, and lo and behold, Thomas Thistlethwaite. This is a real character. And what this guy did wasn't have sex with anybody, but what he used to do, or famously did, was to get one of these rebellious slaves, lying prostrate, get another slave to shit in his mouth. Thistlethwaite sounds like an Englishman. I don't know where that name, you know, but I believe from what I got there, this has been quoted, but it is in the book. I think it's called The Sugar Barons. And as much as I've got some antebellum South books, and the South before, the reasons for the leading up to the Civil War, I got that book. I thought it was very interesting, because at the end of the day, it's good to know the American side, but one also has to also know, from a Caribbean perspective, your side of the argument. Okay? Now, the reparations movement that these Pan-Africanists do, they are pretty much we're all in it together. First of all, they're calling themselves African. Right? Now, the name African, or Africa, comes from Scipio Africanus, who is the guy that eventually beat the Carthaginian Hannibal. He said that Hannibal was either part black or you know, if you listen to them, he was black. You know what I mean? Severus Septimus, he was black. And the funny thing is, these same people will say Barack Obama ain't black. Right? But Severus is. Beethoven had some black in him, is. And I've got nothing against Pushkin, I've got nothing against Beethoven. Who's the other guy? Alexander Dumas. But the concept that all white people I mean, in this country, maybe the elite had some page boys, but the vast majority of people did not have slaves. Hardly any. In fact, how could they afford a slave? They were going for the Industrial Revolution themselves, which is just a step above. Lived in squalor. You've only got to look at Charles Dickens, see how they were living. These are commentaries about basically what's going on. Oliver Twist, you know. You had those urchin boys, you know, from broken homes, you know. Society was very rough. But one thing about society, since they talk about buck breaking and, you know, the inferences that, you know, all these slave men were doing this shagging, it's only the other day, just pretty recently, that they've made it legal to be a homosexual. This thing was never something they would do out in the open, if it were true. It would never be done, because it was against the law. Alright? Oh, you can say, oh, well, rape's against the law, but they raped. Some did. Some were